Hi, I'm Mike, owner of the In-Groove in Phoenix, Arizona. Today I'm going to do another news update, and man, this is a major news update. Essentially, we've got a leaked list of upcoming Mobile Fidelity titles. This is stuff that I believe was planned to be announced in their holiday catalog, what kind of came out ahead of time. Also, there's some format changes. I kind of want to go over with you first, and then I'll kind of give you my thoughts on some of these titles. And at first, rumor, you kind of take it with a grain of salt, but this is information that I actually confirm. So what I'm about to tell you is factual information. It is no longer speculation or rumor. The first thing I want to talk about, which is huge news in itself, is there is now going to be 33 RPM one-steps. I think Mobile Fidelity realizes that not everybody is a fan of 45s. I've got a lot of audiophile customers. They'll spend $1,000 on a 33 RPM, a collectible record, an audiophile record. They don't like 45 RPMs. So Mobile Fidelity is really addressing this by essentially saying, look, we're going to make something for everyone. So there is going to be certain titles that come out as a 45 RPM one-step and a 33 RPM one-step. And I want to say from my conversations that the 45 RPMs will be at a price point. The 33 RPMs are probably going to target somewhere around the $100 price point. And they'll probably redesign the box as well. I don't see them putting the 33 RPM record inside of a big box. I think that's probably a little overkill. They probably realize that's a little overkill. So I'm thinking there's going to be some redesigned box going, on the horizon for that. Also, they're going to go pretty strong with the Supervinyl format. So really, we've got essentially four different versions of Mobile Fidelity now. We're going to have the normal Mobile Fidelity titles, which are 33 and 45s. They typically don't do a lot of crossover, so they'll do it as a 33 or a 45. So that's going to be the standard MoFi release. They are not discontinuing that. I know they've been tough to find, but keep this in mind too. Their whole catalog is backordered. It's pressing issues. It's not up to them. I'm sure Mobile Fidelity, including Mobile Fidelity and myself, would love to have everything in stock. You can't sell it if you don't have it in stock. But it's become very, very difficult to get inventory right now. Manufacturing is just a nightmare. I talk about it in videos all the time. It is a major problem. But we're going to have the regular vinyl versions. And those are slated in the $40 and $60 price point. 45 RPM being 60, 40 on the 35 RPM. Super Vinyl is now going to be the $60 price point. Single disc Super Vinyl, $60. We're going to have the single disc one-step process that is, again, just the same process to manufacture as the 45 RPM one-steps, killer sound, SRX vinyl, everything like that stays the same. The only difference is it's going to be one disc instead of two. And then we're going to have the full-blown 45 RPM, the most fidelity. You're going to get the full bang, right? So that is essentially the four different iterations of Mobile Fidelity products. They haven't announced any Silver Series titles. I'm not sure that that's something they're continuing. Silver Series titles were essentially titles that were released at a lower price point, not made with the original master tape. They were notated because they have a silver band on top, and they were at a lower price point, and they were also on a standard gram vinyl. So they still got stuff in print, the B52s. There's some titles that are still out there as a Silver Series, but haven't announced one of those in a while. But let's go over some of these releases. I mean, this list just blew my mind. God, there's a couple releases that I'm stoked about. This has got to be number one. Mobile Fidelity Bitches Brew one step at 33 RPM. Amazing. Why is that amazing? A, it's an amazing album. It's the definitive version of it. Keep in mind, I think that is, you get early in Columbia's catalog and the vinyl quality was better, consistency was better. Finding clean copies now, don't get me wrong, this is becoming impossible to do. But there was a point in time where you could find nice, clean, great sounding copies of Kind of Blue and those earlier albums. But when you deal with the 70s Miles Davis, I'm not really sure what happened, but the quality, not only in vinyl, but there was wonkiness introduced. And consistency was not that of early Columbia. So the Mobile Fidelity Bitches Brew is by far and away the best sounding version of that album I have ever heard. It's light years above anything else that's ever been done. It is Bitches Brew, let's somewhere here, and everything else, like, yeah, somewhere here. I want to make sure we got those both off camera because it is that dramatic. And you can kind of always tell, like, the market really prices quality in a lot of occasions, especially on a major release like that. I mean, that was a title that got maybe 10,000, a 10,000 run. And it's still a title that is like, what are they going for? $300, $400, $500? I mean, it's extremely expensive. Why? The market has figured out that it is light years better than everything else that's out there. So the fact that they're doing it as, now keep in mind, this is a 33 RPM, but it's a double disc, so it's going to fall in that $125 price point. The fact that you are now going to be able to get a significantly better product for about 3 to 4 times less than a subpar product is going for on the open market. Now, when I say subpar, don't get me wrong, guys, it's still unbelievable, like I just said. But you would really truly assume that the one step is going to be a better product. So, Bitches Brew, that is, to me, the home run on this list. They're also doing a 45 RPM version of Sketches of Spain. I mean, I was so disappointed when the mobile Fidelity titles started dropping out of print. I get guys in the store all the time, hey man, what's the best version of this Miles Davis title? What should I get? And it's like, man, I hate telling people, like, you know, go on eBay and find a mobile Fidelity version because those are the ones you should own. As a store, you want to have good alternatives, even if it wasn't the mobile Fidelity. You know, if there was a nice analog copy or the originals were plentiful and sounded good, you know, you want to have something. But to tell customers, well, you know, you really got to get Bitches Brew as a mobile Fidelity. Everything else is kind of just subpar. I mean, what do they cost? Oh, they're, you know, like $200, $300, $400, $500. I mean, most people are like, damn, bummer. So getting these back in print is huge. I mean, it's huge. It means so much more in 2021 than it did in 2016 when these things were really prevalent because vinyl has changed so much. There's so many new people to the industry. And giving these guys the opportunity to get these, I mean, these are staple titles at retail price is huge. It really is. James Taylor's Greatest Hits, 45 RPM, one step. You know, Greatest Hits titles as a one step. It's going to sell extremely well. Not a huge James Taylor fan, but that is going to be a big deal. Here's the big kicker. So we had the Eagles catalog announced that they were doing. How about this? They're doing the entire Van Halen catalog. Well, I mean, you know, don't email me, but the good Van Halen. They're doing Van Halen 1, 2, Women and Children, Fair Warning, and Diver Down in 1984. I know, not a fan of Van Hagar, but they're doing the early stuff. All as 45 RPM, one steps. Huge. It's just a huge, huge release. You got to remember, guys, I mean, for you guys who are new or to this, there was a point in time where, like, these major bands, you just weren't getting audiophile releases. You know, we were getting the same thing. Well, we weren't getting Van Halen and the Eagles. And, I mean, we were getting the same thing over and over and over again. So it's nice that we're starting to see stuff that's never been touched before. I mean, that's so huge because it's for everybody. I mean, if you're an audiophile, you don't have these records. Audiophile versions of these records don't exist. Now, DCC did Van Halen stuff in the 90s, but, I mean, good luck finding that stuff. Have you guys even tried looking online? You go on eBay, Discogs right now, looking for those Van Halen DCCs. There might, and I don't know, I haven't looked, but there might not be one for sale right now on eBay or Discogs in the entire world. So it's not like this stuff is very, very common. This is one that I'm really, really, really stoked about. It's one of my favorite records, the standard 45 RPM version. It's like a demo disc for me. It's on my top 100 imprint analog records you should own list. And really, it's on the upper end of that list if I was to put them in order. I mean, it is really one of the best sounding records of all time. The sound quality on this thing is unbelievable. Alan Parsons' iRobot. They're doing it as a 45 RPM one step and a 33 RPM one step. Keep in mind, Alan Parsons was an engineer. His recordings are impeccable. They're unbelievably well done. So, yeah, I mean, there were some other titles that were kind of being floated around and that, you know, are coming. They're going to do some of these, I think, maybe it's the iRobot they're going to do as a Supervinyl as well. Don't quote me to it. But there was some stuff that I wrote down that is coming as well that, you know, and I think this stuff is all going to get an official release here, the press release in the next couple days. I think this leak was a couple of weeks, couple of days early, but I don't think it was, I don't think this was a major spoiler. But this really wasn't information that was supposed to get out this soon. But I mean, you guys have to tell me what you think about this. I'm super stoked. We really have, this is really, other than the iRobot, the Miles, the James Taylors have been done, but most of this list is Van Halen because they're doing so many Van Halen titles, 6 different Van Halen titles. But I mean, this is just a killer list. And I really hope they're just scraping the surface here. We got Setches of Spain and Bitches Brew. I'm really hoping that they expand on the Miles Davis catalog. I'm hoping we see In a Silent Way and some of those earlier 33 RPM titles that just went out of print extremely quick. I mean, it was like right when vinyl was starting to get its second wind here, the big comeback. It's like these titles were out of print. So, super excited about this. I will say this. These titles are not coming next year. If you look at past MoFi catalogs, they'll announce titles, and sometimes it takes 2 or 3 years. They've announced Muddy Waters Folk Singer. This was a while ago. It hasn't come. Cannonball Adderley's Something Else. This was a while ago. This hasn't come. These lists are not, definitive, and they haven't been since the dawn of, the catalog. This is something that has kind of been fluid. That's in normal times. Right now, in crazy 2021 supply chains, nobody can make anything. Everything's crazy. I mean, you can expect, my best guess is this is like a 2 to 3 year list. I just can't see them pumping out, 20 titles, one steps in the next year. It's possible. Maybe fingers crossed, but I don't think that's realistic. And I will say this on a side note. I've already started getting calls on this list. These titles do not go available for pre-order until the manufacturer, so Mobile Fidelity actually releases what they call a one sheet. A one sheet is what they give out to dealers, and they tell the dealers, okay, this is the item, this is the photography for it, this is the description, this is how many of them we're making, this is how, the UPC, everything that's required to actually build the product in the system. Once that goes out, that's when I offer this stuff available for pre-order. And as soon as I get that on any of these titles, I will offer it available for pre-order. But I don't do it till then. One of the reasons is Mobile Fidelity has never not sent me what they've told me ahead of time. I've got a very good relationship with the label as far as I know exactly what I'm getting ahead of time. This way I don't have any disappointed customers. When it came to the Eagles, I knew I was going to be shorted on the Eagles, and you'll notice I never did a pre-order on the Eagles. And I really do truly appreciate that. There's other manufacturers that do that as well, but we're talking right now Mobile Fidelity. But I don't want to overpromise and under-deliver anything. If you buy something from me, Mobile Fidelity, on the website, I've always shipped it. I've never short-shipped any Mobile Fidelity product. So until the one sheet comes, we've got firm numbers. Everything is all set in stone. I know what I'm going to be able to get, what I'm going to be allocated ahead of time. I'm not going to be offering these things for pre-order. So you'll just have to bear with me. And keep in mind, guys, there is no rush on this stuff. This stuff is not selling out before the press release even comes out. And keep in mind, too, this is 2021. These are titles that are announced for 2022, maybe even 23, 2024, who knows? They're not going to be doing this, in my best guess. Now, I'm speculating here. These aren't going to be like, oh, we're going to do 3,500 copies of Bitches Brew. I mean, the numbers have changed. The numbers are being ratcheted up. All manufacturers are revising the numbers. If you look at what Analog Productions did with the Miles Davis UHQR, they did 25,000 of them. Now, if they were to put that number together 3 or 4 years ago, they probably would have did 7,500 of them, max. They wouldn't have did 25,000. So I truly feel that there will be decent supply on this stuff. There's no reason to panic. And I will say this too. The one-steps, even after announcement, they've been lasting for the Eagles titles, which I didn't feel they made very many of them, still stuck around for a couple, 2-3 months. So there was plenty of time to pre-order them. There'll be plenty of time to pre-order these things. But again, I'm not going to put them on the website till I have firm commitment. But you guys have to tell me your thoughts on this. I'm super stoked about it just because I'm able to add things really to my shelf that aren't there 17 different times. And that in itself is cool. But yeah, check us out online, guys, www.theingroove.com. Until next time.